Hello, brother.
Hello, brother.
How are you, brother?
I'm very good, brother. This is really setting the tone.
It really is. What's up, Jungly fam? Welcome to podcast number I've lost count. This is my mate Shivankaran Muraleedaran from Australia, who I met during my time living in Sydney. Shout out to my boy Shazad, who's our mutual friend who made this amazing connection happen. And Shiva's been living here for the last nearly a month. He's just about to wrap up and go back to Australia. And he's really been one of the coolest, most go-with-the-flow junglies that we've had here, with the most wicked one-liners, which I hope we're gonna catch some of these in this recording. But he's had the intention to play the tabla while he's here and learn the tabla through a local teacher. So quite a unique experience compared to other junglies, but I'm gonna let him share more of the story rather than me. But before we get into that, man, Shiva, my bro, welcome. How's it going?
It's going good. It's good to be here, man. Like, it's, I don't know, like, it's so peaceful. Like,
Yeah?
so quiet, so nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you usually live, I mean, one of the places that's been your base is Cairns. Is there some similarity? Cairns is a very tropical, beautiful part of far north Queensland and Australia. Is there some similarity between the vibe in Cairns and the vibe over here, or is it totally different?
I feel like totally different.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't know, growing up in Cairns was very, very strange. Like, as a Sri Lankan born person,
Okay.
like, I didn't really get exposed to like people that looked like me. Like, in my school, like I was one of 3 like brown guys in my entire like grade.
Yeah, right.
And we always got like lumped in together. Like, you know, Harsh, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. He ended up at our school after like moving from
From Gujarat in India.
yeah. Originally from India, but the point is my school what's the name? Not prime minister.
The principal of the
Principal,
school.
yeah.
Yeah.
The vice principal like found Harsh one day, and then she came and found me, and she was like, "Here's Harsh. You will look after him."
Oh my God. Just
And-
like the lumping in of the brown
he
kids
was just
together.
like, you know, you can take care of him. You can show him the ropes. You've done Cairns from the lens of a brown person. You know, help him out.
And did you ask the principal, like, why did you pick me out of all of the other 50?
I mean,
different
I was a kid. I was just like, cool. And like
That's up.
Harsh ended up just following us everywhere, and then
Yeah.
like ended up being one of our close friends. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your roots. It's pretty interesting. Sri Lankan, Aussie. Where were you born? Where have you lived? And then where did you end up?
So I was born in Colombo, Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
which is where my parents are from. My dad quickly got a job in Papua New Guinea, where I spent from like ages 1 to 4. And
Yeah.
so I moved to Brisbane, did uni there for 5 years, studying finance and economics.
Right.
And then I got a job at ASIC. And then I moved again further south to Sydney.
Right.
And so I've just slowly been like going further south and south from Sri Lanka is how I see it.
Yeah,
So,
nice. Sri
yeah.
Lanka, Papua New Guinea,
Yeah.
Cairns,
Yeah.
south towards Brisbane and
Brisbane,
Sydney. Yep.
Sydney, and then I don't know. Next thing's probably Tasmania or like New Zealand. I don't know. Like
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Keep going south.
yeah, Antarctica. Like,
Why not?
yeah.
I just want to stop and share a really funny story. You know how one of the things you just mentioned is that he used to work for ASIC. If you're not Australian, you've not heard of it. But ASIC is Australian Security and Investment Corporation.
Commission.
Commission, right? And so the first time I met Shiva, he just showed up at my share house in Sydney, and I was like, "Hey man, what's up? What do you do?" Just like trying to make small talk and get to know the guy. And I had no idea that I'm talking to like such a wicked prankster on the other side. And he's like, "I work for ASIC," and I had just got into ASIC's the sports shoes. So I was like, "Whoa, bro, ASIC's the shoes. I fucking love that brand. Such good shoes. Check out these new shoes I got." And he was like, "Yeah." Asics the shoes. I was like, that's so cool. So what's it like at Asics? What do you do at Asics? And he just kept it going for a couple of minutes. And then after a couple of minutes, what do you do?
And then I was like, oh yeah, I can actually get you free shoes.
And I got even more hyped.
What's your shoe size? I
was like, fuck, I just bought some shoes, but maybe I'll get another pair because you're on the inside. I got so hyped. And then a couple of minutes later, he just looks at me in this deadpan way and he's like, I don't work for ASIC, the shoe company. I work for ASIC, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission, which is the most boring government corporation, which every company just needs to pay fees to keep their company alive. It's like due diligence. And I was like, screw you, man. I can't trust this guy. He like played me in my own house in 5 minutes of getting to know each other. And I think that was the start of good friendship.
Yeah. But I think now you've adjusted. Now you know.
Now I know. Now I know that everything that comes out of this guy's mouth is sarcastic, hilarious, and always tongue-in-cheek. So that's what the Junglis actually love you for. So it's pretty hilarious. But that's quite a wild ride, dude, because Sri Lankan origin and then growing up in Australia. And it's one thing we have in common is being subcontinental origin, but then spending an extended amount of time in Australia. I also went to a school over there and I was initially lumped in with the brown kids a little bit. Another brown kid got in trouble. His name was Shazad, our common friend. And our principal pulled me up and gave me a lecture, thinking I was the guy that caused the drama, even though it was the other brown kid. And then the day after, he called me in to apologize and say, I'm so sorry, wrong brown kid. And like some people might perceive this to be racist.
Yeah.
I didn't find it racist at all. It was just like a lovely, innocent mistake. Yeah. But I can kind of understand how growing up in Australia, even if you're pretty Aussie like you, I think are very Australian, not just on your passport, but even an identity is like, how would you identify? Do you identify as Australian, or how do you go about like finding your identity?
Home to me means a different thing to like what it means to other people. Like I've been very confused by the concept of home, and I've kind of like reached a point where home more means like the people that I meet, or like, you know, the conversations that I have with people on the road. Like home to me is people.
Nice, man. I think that's really well put. So Sri Lanka doesn't really feel like home. Does Australia feel like home for you?
I still wouldn't class it as home. I've found like very homely people in Sydney.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just a place that I've grown up.
So I really want to then like full circle it in the end about if Jungli felt home for you and how it's been over your travel here. But we'll save that for...
Yeah. I definitely have a lot to say about that.
That's awesome. We'll definitely get there chronologically. Why don't you tell people, paint the picture about... Because Jungli, this podcast is about people that have experienced the more, let's say, cookie cutter way of life, or like, you know, you do one job, you gotta buy one house, you gotta have one partner. And, you know, there's kind of a structure that we're all born and conditioned with. Yeah. And I think the one thing that unites all of the Jungli community is we enjoy working and creating from beautiful places as one, but also we enjoy seeking an alternative life. So before we get to what alternatives you found to the, let's say, the motorway, can you tell us a little bit about what you did after, let's say you went to uni in Australia and then you had some work experience, like you did give it a go. So what was that experience like for you? What did you work as professionally?
So I did finance and economics. I studied that because, you know, coming out of high school, you don't really know exactly what you want to study. Like, I don't know, there's a lot in the schooling system where they just kind of expect you to know what you want after, after high school. And like, you really haven't experienced a whole lot of life to be able to make a decision on what you want to do for the rest of your life.
That is such a good point.
And I ended up choosing finance and economics because my dad had a background in finance and economics. So it was what I was exposed to. And like, I was able to do it. I was like good at it. And like, doing what you're good at doesn't necessarily always translate to like long-term satisfaction in terms of like being happy with your life. And so I studied, I did well. I got a job with ASIC, and then I worked at ASIC for nearly 4 years.
Oh, that's a while.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a good amount of time through COVID and everything. But as soon as kind of COVID hit, like I had a bit more time to myself, and like you kind of have more time to think. And I quickly realized that I can't be doing this long term.
It's not fulfilling you?
Yeah. And like the people that I was surrounded by, like all power to them, they like love it. Or like, I mean, some of them love it. Most of them like either love it or they just like deal with it because they have to deal with life, you know?
Right. Pay the bills.
Yeah, and like I just couldn't justify spending, what is it, like 8 hours of my day, five
Yeah.
days a week, doing something I was just so not on board with. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, this is a lot of time of my day that I am like, spending doing a job that I really don't love.
Like in summary, what were you doing at that job?
Yeah, so I was working as a market analyst. So,
Okay.
like insider trading, market manipulation.
Wow.
We were looking at like high risk like derivatives, like financial products, and just ensuring like companies, unnamed banks weren't doing anything out of the ordinary. So we
I
look at
see.
look
Okay.
at data and then like find trends, patterns, and then like follow up.
Wow. Pretty
Yeah.
dry.
Yeah, pretty dry, and like, you know, a lot of the funding that Australia gets for government stuff like this is like pretty lackluster. So the power that these agencies have is also just like not
Hmm.
a whole lot. I'm sure it's like fairly decent in terms of like other countries,
Correct. Correct.
but like, it's still like a slap on the wrist when you like punish these banks.
And then you watch them kind
Yeah,
of continue or
like
get away with
they'll
it.
get like $100,000 fine for like a financial crime that's like in the millions.
Oh, so it's just a little
It's
cost for
like
them.
the equivalent if someone steals bread and you're just like, okay, pay $2 and like you're fine. Take the bread.
Yeah.
But
Right.
like on the contrary, people who do like petty crime, they like tend to be fined a lot more, put into like in perspective,
Uh huh.
fined a lot more, and also like sometimes end up in like prison. Whereas these like white collar workers are like, was it white collar or blue collar?
White
White
collar. Yeah.
collar, yeah. White collar workers are just like getting away scot free for like $1 million crimes that affect an entire nation and everyone's bank accounts.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a deep insight. I've hung out with him for a month and we've actually never spoken about work
Yeah,
per se.
because
It's his least favorite topic. I've noticed that being a friend of his, but
Yeah.
that's a dope insight about why you would not be too, like, you would get disillusioned quickly.
Yeah. And like one of the other things is like I really like, it's really like tangibility with work is very important. Like seeing where your efforts and energy goes.
Yeah.
Like someone working a food truck, they see them like, build a piece of like food or like the dosa they make,
Yeah.
and then they like give it to their customer. They see the smile on their face and they're like, wow, like thank you, I'll be back, Like
Yeah.
you don't get to see that in like a job
Mm.
like the one I was working. It's very like vague, and it's like, profits, like you helped 10% to like
Yes.
improve society's life. It's like not very tangible.
That is such a good point. Having a tangible outcome. I'm seeing this with Jungli as well, with seeing people come in and go. It does feel so much more satisfying than, I mean, virtual work. I'm all for it. Obviously,
Yeah.
digital nomad village right here. But you still, when you interact with the customer, you're able to impact someone else's life. I think that's
and
what
it's
it is.
very like obvious the positive effect that you've had on like someone's life based on your job.
Yeah, nice. So you did that for 4 years.
Yeah.
You did the grind. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe financially you were able to pay your bills and I don't know, save some or something like
Yeah.
that. And then what did you have any experience that made you start thinking about alternatives like solo travel?
So I had done I've done some like solo travel. So during my time working there, I took like a month or so off,
Okay.
and then I flew to Europe.
Okay.
That was like my first time flying kind of by myself.
Yeah, nice. How old were you?
23, I think. Yeah.
Good age to jet off.
Yeah, yeah. Went to Portugal first, and I went to a 5-day music festival.
Nice.
Which in hindsight, like I should have put that at the end, because you're starting off
Full power.
a 1 month trip and you're just like, I don't know, after leaving a festival you tend to be like quite tired.
Oh
and,
my
like,
God, yeah.
it's just like,
It's a lot.
and then I'm just like walking through Milan afterwards, just like pretty exhausted, but it was an experience.
Nice.
I met some really cool people there.
Okay.
Yeah. I was exposed to like, I think that was probably one of the first times I was exposed to the concept of like polyamory,
Oh yeah,
which
cool.
is very interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go into that?
Of course, like
Yeah.
very, very topical with nomad life in general. Like the
Yeah,
concept
so-
of one person not needing to have just one partner and it can be something alternative.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I kind of knew what the concept was, but like at the festival there was this like just like this group of very like happy, like glowing people.
Nice.
And like they were always just like walking around together, dancing together.
Yeah.
And like they had like there wasn't any concept of partners. Like they were all just kind of vibing, and like
Nice.
there was just so much love
Nice.
intermingled throughout the entire group.
Yeah, right.
And they were so inviting. And I would like at the time I actually didn't know what was happening. I was like, why is she kissing him?
But because when
But also him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then like I was like, what's going on? And then like I quickly understood what was going on. And then
Right.
like as I grew a little bit older and I like reflected upon that, I was like, oh, so that's what poly is.
Man, cool. Because you
Yeah.
probably didn't experience that when you were just working your job and meeting people in the city, in Brisbane, Sydney, wherever you were.
No, yeah. Sydney was like at working at ASIC, they were very, very conservative. I don't think they would
I'm sure.
understand the concept. Like, for example, like when I was in the office, like I'd grown my hair out, and then like someone like turned to me and was like, dude, you know your hair, like how it's long, it makes you look like you do drugs.
Oh my God. That is so funny.
And I was
So
like,
then did you offer him some?
I was like, I do, but it's not because of my hair. Like the hair is a side thing. Like,
Yeah, it's not like the hair enables
Yeah.
that. That is so funny. It gives such a good image of the straight edge people that are probably working at Australian Security and Investment Commission. Hilarious. Cool. So you solo travel kind of
This is just gonna end up me flaming ASIC, like just like trashing them. Like,
at ASIC.
Yeah.
Tag them on LinkedIn. But that's super cool, man. I'm like solo travel. I'm a big believer that it just completely blows your mind about how alternative realities
Yeah.
exist. One thing it changed for me as well is I realized how people's opinions of you, like maybe your ASIC's employees' opinions of you, I realized when I traveled that opinions are location based, and that as soon as you go from one location to another, that opinion is completely left
Yeah.
behind, and you're able to maybe even introduce yourself in a different way, like create new identities as you travel.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean like be a schizophrenic, but it just means you know like for example, like if I could share a little bit about how I had an experience with this. I was leaving Brisbane and I was working at Uber, and I would, if someone asked what do you do, and I was like, oh, I used to work at Uber. Even though I knew what I was starting to do was chase music, I found it hard to sum up the courage to say I'm a music producer.
yeah.
Because I didn't have a song out yet.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I started traveling, people were like, what do you do? I felt a lot more free to be able to say, I'm living in a van and I'm going after my dream of making music and just owning that.
It's like classic like imposter syndrome.
It
Like,
is, it
It's
is.
like any part of the journey, like even like the people that we like idolize, like they suffer from it. It doesn't go away. You know?
No.
Like I mean obviously like to an extent you learn to live with it, but like
Yeah, I think travel helps.
yeah, for sure. But like I like following music as well. Like I've not been able to be like, oh, I'm like a producer or like
Yeah.
even a DJ. Like I've shied away from like wanting to call myself that.
And we've had some incredible late night sessions, Shiva and I. Every night he takes us in an eclectic music journey. Sometimes on the decks, sometimes on YouTube tabs that he fades out one tab and fades in another. And oh my God.
the only way.
He's never repeated a song. It's been a month. He is such a born selector. It's so good to just like not be able to play my playlist, which I'm bored of. I think everyone's bored of theirs. And like be in the backseat and let someone else drive. So that's been a real pleasure. But
Appreciate it, man.
yeah, for sure. So, okay, so you had your solo travel, you had a music festival. Maybe talk to us a little bit about your journey with music, because that gets more relevant to the time that you've had here. How did you start to discover that music was a passion of yours that fulfilled you?
Okay. So how deep do you want me to go? Like
Bro,
as deep as I can?
The mic is yours,
So-
the jungle is waiting.
Music to me has just been like an integral part of my life since like a young age, like a very young age. Like, so when I was a kid, I would eat my rice and curry. My
Yep.
mum would feed me my rice and curry, and I would sit in front of like the TV and I would watch music videos. Prabhu Deva, for anyone who knows. Like,
Yeah.
incredible dancer, like incredible music videos, like so fun to watch.
Incredible taste in clothes, which you also
Yeah,
love,
I love the fashion in the 90s, like Tollywood era. Like it's like so like playful, so fun. Like
Nice.
it's incredible.
Okay.
But as far as where I'm at now, like I'm like fallen in love with electronic music, and that kind of happened around age 16, 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had this friend, Tim. Shout out to Tim if you're listening.
What's up, Tim?
He came to class once or like lunch once and he brought his computer out and he was like, dude, you have to listen to this.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like I'll listen to it. I'm down. And he plays this remix of Paradise by Coldplay.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the Fede Legrand remix.
I know this remix.
super euphoric,
Yeah.
super like it was a lovely song, still is. And he played it and I was like, dude, what is this? He was like, oh, it's like EDM.
Were you listening on headphones or speakers or just a
Just
computer
like
speaker?
just his computer, I think.
Yeah, cool.
And I had to listen to it and I was like, I think I've just fallen in love since with electronic music. Obviously, like not the same music.
Yes, the taste has evolved.
You know,
yeah.
like I had like such a journey through like house, techno, like future bass, like the Skrillex era.
Oh,
like-
cool.
And now where I'm like sitting at is I'd like to describe my music as like eclectic. Like there's no like just pure house. It's like house, disco, Tamil music, like random Japanese disco tracks, like all sorts of things.
So cool. What made you take that shift from being a music listener, which I think is the foundation if you want to get into any art? I think it starts with appreciation. So what made you go from a listener and then to a conscious listener to then wanting to be on the other side, whether curating music as a DJ or producing it yourself?
Like I was really interested in the concept of making music.
Nice.
Bear in mind, this is when I was like 16. And like, it just seemed like such a mammoth task to like engage with. And in hindsight now, it doesn't seem like it. But like when you're a kid, you're just like, wow, like this seems so hard.
Yeah.
Like, and also you have like, you have to get a job and you're like, I don't know if I can do this as a job. Like, I don't know what the kind of like pathway is to like do something with music.
Yeah.
And so it always kind of sat in like the back of my mind, just like, you know, I was like, I love
the
this.
DJing part?
The producing part.
The producing
yeah,
part,
yeah.
okay.
I was like, I kind of want to do this. And every now and again, like I'd like download Ableton or like investigate doing production and like doing, what do you call it? Yeah, YouTube tutorials and learning how to produce music.
Nice.
But it would always reach like a blockage.
Mm.
And like, I would just be like, I'm not cut out for this. Or I'm not good enough to do this. Or like, this is too hard or too difficult. Or just life gets in the way. you know?
Correct. And the learning curve is steep.
It is steep.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell you, like, it's like, it's not as easy as you, like, as people, as it can be. Like,
Yeah.
like it is pretty difficult
Yeah, man.
sometimes. And like, I think where it kind of all like clicked for me was when I quit my job.
Okay.
At this point I had already started like DJing, playing at house parties.
Okay.
And like, I was really enjoying that part of music. But then I realized I really do want to produce. Like the metaphor that I use for like DJing versus producing is like DJing is almost like making a collage.
Okay.
And then, you know, producing a song is almost like painting a picture from scratch. And, like
Nice.
using your own colors, your own textures.
Yeah.
And both are like really incredible forms of art, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. They're just different.
Yes.
And so after I quit my job, I had a lot of time. I like was able to like feed myself properly. I was able to like cook meals like every day.
Nice.
And like I was able to like focus on my like artistic pursuits. So I was able to like spend time with Ableton
Yeah.
and like teach myself how to produce and do all those things. And I was able to like spend time overcoming my like the previous hurdles that I
Lacks
faced.
of time
Yeah.
and nourishing yourself.
Yeah.
Can I just zoom into that? Like that transition between job to suddenly having your time is a big one. If you don't mind me asking, in the Jungly podcast, we actually love to talk about finance openly to whatever extent you're comfortable, of course. Was that transition safer or better for you because you got into the habit of saving money when you had a job, or what allowed that transition to allow you to actually have time?
Yeah. So after working at ASIC, especially during COVID, we didn't have a lot of expenditures.
Yeah.
So like a lot of money was being saved. And I was also like investing in stocks
Okay.
during that time, especially after the crash.
The crash, yeah.
And yeah, so I saved pretty well. I was able to just like kind of survive on that for a bit.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Australia has a really good Centrelink program.
Yeah,
which is
right.
just like payments, which really helped a lot while I was looking for a job.
Yeah. This is something that might be a little new for people that are not from Australia. It's an amazing initiative that Australia has where if you are going through a period of unemployment or you need like a stepping stone, the government will actually help you by just making some basic payments to you to help cover your expenses. And of course, there's a spectrum. There are some people that really abuse it. And then there are some people that genuinely use it as a stepping stone. I know I did post COVID when I lost my job. It was the best stepping stone, such a blessing to be able to go into van life. And then I found my online job with Beat Lab Academy in Los Angeles at the time. And then I could get off the Centrelink again, those kind of unemployment benefit payments. But it's so good that that exists because that concept doesn't exist at all. I'm sure you know in places like India, the government will take money from you. It's not the other way around. So yeah, go on. That's awesome that you could use that.
Yeah, and so that kind of helped me survive a little bit. And then I ended up moving back in with my parents. It was a weird time in my life.
Of course.
Living at home with my parents again after like living away from home for so long.
Yes.
And it has its ups and downs, like food, amazing food. Like you kind of like tend to butt heads a little bit,
Of course.
because like you haven't been around these people for so long.
These people.
No, as in like my family.
Yeah.
Haven't been around my family for so long. And so like they've gotten used to a different lifestyle. I've gotten used to a different lifestyle. And like sometimes those lifestyles don't gel. And like that's fine. The kind of like magic that happened for me was the really late nights, like diving and noodling in like Ableton and finding music and like, I don't know. I was really, I'm going to be honest, I was really lonely for a period of like 6 months to a year when I was living in Brisbane. Didn't like find my like friends again, didn't find my groove.
Yeah.
Still somehow don't like look at that time as in a negative light. Like it was
Nice.
such, like I nourished myself in my own way in those 6 months, learning so much, listening to countless podcasts,
Yeah.
tutorials, and like doing so much that like I've been putting off for so long, and it made me like really, really happy and satisfied.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
That's so good to hear. I love this concept of solitude. It is a theme that comes up with many nomads that have spent extended amounts of time in solitude sometimes. I was lucky to experience that in the van. How did you go with this feeling of being alone maybe for the first time? I know you have your parents there and
Yeah.
stuff, but it's still an extended period of alone time, especially in COVID, lack of friends and all that stuff. So how did you go with that uncomfortable feeling when it settled in? And did you manage to befriend solitude?
Yeah, so like my late nights like were some of my like favorite times of my life.
Nice.
Like if you can learn to be by yourself, I think it's a really, really good skill to have. Like I know some people like tend to struggle like not being in the vicinity of people. Or like being without friends. Like some people can't go out to dinner and eat dinner at a restaurant by themselves.
It's become one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, like I think solitude is where you kind of are able to like let everything disappear, and then you
Nice.
like kind of really understand what's happening underneath, which I think is very important. I think everyone needs to spend time with solitude. One of the best moments of solitude I had was on this year 9 camp.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a 21 day camp.
Jesus.
Yeah, one of the most like incredible experiences of my like childhood.
Okay.
One which is part of the reason why I still love Cairns despite its like difficulties like growing up there. And one of the activities on this day was they'd take us to the most like serene like piece of like nature. There was like rocks everywhere where people could sit, waterfalls, like running creeks. It was like serene, and then not serene as in your
There's a property here called Serene. Yeah.
but and everyone just kind of had their own little space. They gave us like snacks for the day. We'd sit down and we just had to sit the entire day for like 8 to 9 hours just by ourselves, just like reflecting.
Were you with other people? What do
We
you
were with
mean?
other people. People were like visible but like far away.
So
like,
you're by yourself.
you're by yourself. You
That's
just kind of
awesome
have to
at year
like sit
9.
and like, think,
For 8-9 hours?
Yeah,
It's not easy,
I think
man.
we obviously had like toilet breaks and stuff, but
Yeah.
like, we had to sit the entire day and reflect.
Dude, amazing. Shout out to Australia's public health education
Yeah,
system.
no,
Or private, sorry.
private. Yeah, yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
man.
But yeah.
That's really cool. How do you feel today if you were to be somewhere, like let's say you're in a place like Jungli or in a place like Soch, but you were to live by yourself for an extended period of time, for like a month, would you be okay with that?
Oh, I would love it.
Yeah? Yeah, okay,
It'd be
awesome.
incredible. Yeah,
That's so good. I love people that have been able to befriend solitude. I just find that they're a lot more independent. It makes you independent. You don't need to depend on someone else's company for either validation or happiness. It's a very like self-validating, strengthening, mental, spiritual exercise. So that's super. Well, so you got in music, you kind of figured out Ableton, you were DJing on the sides, you started making some beats and stuff as well. What then made you interested in coming over to Jungli?
As soon as you opened like the concept of Jungli, I was in the group. I was very intrigued. Like it seemed like a cool space, and like the people seemed cool, and it was definitely something that was just always just sitting there. I was like, oh, this would be nice. Like
Yeah,
this would
nice.
be very nice. I started actually like toying with the idea more seriously. I was like, oh, this is like possible. Like, and it's very affordable. Like I can like, tickets were cheap at the time, and I was like,
Yeah,
I
you got
can,
lucky.
I can do this. And
Was there a trigger? Because like it was in the back of your mind, but then was there a trigger? Some, either comfortable or uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
some event that happened that made you go like, I need to change my environment now for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I was in a very like interesting relationship that
Okay.
kind of came to its natural end,
Mm,
and I don't know, refinding the things that make me happy, and like
nice.
I don't know, doing all the things that like I've kind of put on the back burner a little bit.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I kind of have always wanted to do was like learn the tabla. It's like Indian
Such
classical
a
music.
beautiful sound. It's one of my favorite instruments, man.
Yeah, it's like it's so intricate and conversational. Like,
Yes.
and so my intention was just to come here, learn the tabla. I didn't kind of have much expectation beyond that, but like my experience at Jungli and Dandeli in general has like far exceeded my expectations.
Man, that's
and
so
like
good to hear.
I've just gotten so much more than I would have ever like expected. Not to say that like I wasn't expecting anything. It's just I didn't know what to expect.
Sometimes that's the best way
Yeah,
to
yeah.
rock up to a place, man. No
Yeah.
expectations, and then let the magic unfold.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that, dude. You've really been one of the most, like, you know, when I was building Jungli and the vision, I imagine like someone that would come from a foreign place to Dandeli, really sink into the peaceful flow of life over here, maybe find local adventures and use the electric cycle. I'm just really biased towards these electric cycles because I think they're so liberating and quiet and clean, you
Yeah,
know?
they're so good.
So I fell in love with them in Himachal, and I was like, I know Jungli has to have them. And I imagine this like figure that would like live peacefully, live long term, so you really settle into it. Just eat what's there and be grateful for that because the set menu by itself is so,
So
good.
good.
The local food, at least I believe.
So clean as well, I've noticed. Like
yeah,
it's very like
Shout out to Firoza, our head chef. She just takes care of us so well.
yeah, she's such a boss.
And Shiva's really imbibed all of that by using, he's rented out the electric cycle for the whole month, and he just, I don't even know when he's in the house. I don't know when he's out of the house. I don't know when he needs anything because he just sorts himself out. He goes out and there's this beautiful bromance that's been forming. We need to talk about Jayat.
Jayat.
That needs to come into this podcast. We'll tell you how we found him. But he goes to see his tabla teacher Jayat, and then he comes back and he just eats and comes to Soch and plays the tabla, and it's been so cool. Someone living that model life that you were dreaming of enabling for someone else. So shout out to you for being the first person to be brave enough to rent the electric cycle, ride
know-
out into Dandeli.
I don't know how you can't. It's so much fun. Like
Man, right?
And like I feel like they go over bumps better than like a motorbike.
I had the best feeling. There was a guy on a Hero Honda the other day slowing down for a bump, and I just flew past him.
Yeah. I do
And
that
he
all
was
the
just
time.
like, "Wow, how can you be on a cycle?" And
the
do
the
this?"
locals like are obsessed with it. They're just like
It's the first
they're,
electric
like,
cycle in
charging.
Dandeli.
Like I was like yeah.
Battery cycle.
Yeah.
But we got to tell you the story of how we've met Jayat, this amazing tabla teacher, because it's so good. So about 2 months ago, we had a jungli here called Malcolm. Malcolm and I were walking on the road with our field recorders, recording the sounds of beehives and looking like absolute dorks, you know? And then this really short, enthusiastic guy came on a scooter and he just said, music? Are you guys into music? And so excited. And we were like, yeah, as in, you know, I produce music. Malcolm's learning, and he's a voice artist and a singer, and we're just recording some sounds. And he was like, I am Jayat, flute artist of Dan Daily. And we were like, cool, man. And he showed us his YouTube page and showed us his flute performances. And he was so confident without being cocky.
Yeah.
And he was so contagious. So I took down his number and I said, sure, if I ever need a flute artist, I'm going to call you. Cut to, Shiva calls me and he says, 2 months later, and he says, I need a tabla teacher. Can you find one? I called Jayat and I'm like, hey man, my friend Shiva's coming, wants to learn the tabla. Do you know anyone who, before I could finish the sentence, he's like, I teach tabla, brother. I'm like, wait, really? I thought you played the flute. He's like, I play 10 instruments. And I was like, get out. Like, this sounds too good to be true. Name the instruments. And he's like, sitar, guitar, flute, tabla, harmonium, keyboard, violin, Hindustani vocals, and I'm missing one. And I was just like, holy cow, this guy sounds awesome. But before I tell my boy Shiva to book tickets, I want to check it out. So I go for a sample class. I, go out to Jayat's place. I meet him. And then I realize that his father is the guy that taught me the harmonium when I was 5 years old. So it was a beautiful, like, homecoming moment. And then I realized Jayat is his son, an 18-year-old prodigy, and just played a bunch of instruments. Then I sat down for a tabla class. And I'm not even kidding. In 40 minutes, he taught me the basics of a simple teen tal, which is a foundational beat on the tabla. And he could speak good English. I speak Hindi, but I wanted him to teach me in English so I could, practice for Shiva. Shiva speaks English and Tamil, by the way, which is super cool. Da. So he gave me a sample class. It was amazing. I called Shiva. I said, bro, we are on. Book your tickets. And what's unfolded is the most beautiful bromance between Shiva and this local prodigy called Jayat. So a couple of last questions for you before we wrap this one up. The intention that you came to Jungli with, to get into your music, eat well, live a good life, make some friends, all that sort of stuff, and also obviously learn the tabla. Did you feel that you were able to, your stay over here was able to meet that intention?
Oh yeah, for sure. So like I came with more of the mindset of connection.
Yeah, okay.
And because of that, I was able to I was open to the experience of meeting people that I could often barely have conversations with. But even with the language barrier and communication struggles, there is so much perspective to be gained.
You're talking about language barriers when speaking with people like Jayat and the locals,
and
right?
Locals,
Right.
There's so much perspective to be gained. Not with you. Your English is amazing.
No, not me. I meant the junglers.
Yeah.
Of course, we're all English speaking.
Yeah, even just sitting with security guards. I sat with
Nice.
a security guard and just had a chat and just we just vibed together.
That's so cool.
There's so much you can get from non-verbal cues and just smiles and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just so much pure happiness here, which I just
Yeah.
want to absorb
Nice.
and
Goosebumps.
transfer onto other people when I head back to Australia.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that and then wrap up this episode. What are your plans from here? You've got now a laptop full of samples. You've got hopefully a heart that needed mending that has now been soaked in happiness, and
Yeah.
of course a journey ahead over there as well. But what are your plans from here? You're gonna go back to Australia? Are you gonna get a job at ASIC again, or what are your plans
You know
from
me
Jungli
so well.
onwards?
You know me so well. How did you know? I have just endless opportunity in terms of nothing holding me anywhere.
Anywhere?
In the
Good,
sense
yes.
I can do what I want. I can choose to go to whatever corner of the world that I want to. Not saying that that's what I want to do, but it's something that's in my mind.
Yeah, cool.
I think I want to go back to Australia,
Uh-huh.
not permanently.
Uh-huh.
Get my kind of life sorted a little bit, get my finances sorted a little bit, find a remote job that I can kind of easily transfer into not necessarily nomadic life, but somewhere down that line.
Yep.
And I think I want to come back to India.
Yeah, really?
India has my heart. I'm really, really liking it here. I don't know. In terms of the things that I said about home, I'm getting a sense of feeling that there is home here. There
Yeah.
are, there are people here that I find very
You
homely.
fit in, man. India loves you.
I love India. Like it was my like first proper trip to India, and I like
Right.
honestly did not know what to expect. Like I've been to Sri Lanka, but that's like
Very
it's
different.
very different. Like
Yeah.
very, very different. Much smaller scale.
And to be fair, you've seen a bit of a bubble in
Yeah,
India.
yeah. But like I do want, like, this bubble has made me want to go and explore like
Nice.
other corners of the world.
That's
other
good.
corners of India. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like after you mentioned Himachal, like I'm
Yes.
very, very keen to go to Himachal.
Himachal is a totally different vibe where it looks like Switzerland, but you have chai and you have warm Indian hospitality at Indian level prices. So it's amazing. It changed my life when I had nomad lifed over there. It was epic. So I was showing him photos and videos of this town called Bir Billing, which has a great creative community, paragliding scene. And he was just like, what? This is also India? I'm like, yes, India is so diverse. This is also India. I think it's so ripe for nomads to explore and thrive. So I love that you're gonna go ahead and take that up. Awesome, man. It's been so good to have you at
Yeah, it's
Jungli,
good to
bro.
be here, man.
We freaking love your vibe,
Yeah.
and I'm sure everyone's gonna wish you best of luck as you go on and put these samples together and continue playing the tabla. He's actually buying a tabla and shipping it to Australia,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that.
which is pretty exciting. And yeah, man, hope to see you again.
Yeah, sounds good.
My man.